All right. I don't need to transcribe, just record. All right, so I think it is recording. And bear with me a moment. It says stop recording, so I think it is recording. And are you guys looking at my screen? You see AI for insurance agents? Is that right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right, let me minimize this. And let me now go here. And first say welcome. I am an AI hobbyist and enthusiast. It's something I just really enjoy doing in my spare time. And it just works out that it's also very, very, very useful for my work. And so I think I'm kind of uniquely positioned to talk to you guys about this because I have one foot in the AI world and one foot in the insurance agency world. Oh, someone, Tim. Hey, Tim, we're just getting started. So I'm just starting with the presentation. I was just explaining I'm a AI hobbyist who also is an insurance agent, which kind of uniquely positions me to talk to you guys about this. If you are maybe a little unsure about what large language models can do, maybe you've heard a lot from people, you've read online, you've read in the news how crazy and amazing they are, but you're still wondering, but how do I use this and how do I apply it to my job? Well, my goal today is to answer that question for you. So with that said, let's get on with it. What is an LLM? That stands for large language model. Let me just start by asking you guys, it's a small group, so we can just have you each answer. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I'm completely clueless, 10 being I'm a daily power user, maybe 5 is I've messed around with it. I mess around with it occasionally. Where's everyone's current level of familiarity with large language models like ChatGPT?
I use it every day.
Oh, wonderful. So Chapman, you're gonna know a lot of this already.
I use it a lot for like emails and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm at the bottom here. I think I would say a 3.
Okay.
I've used it, but I don't use it that often.
Understood.
Yeah, if you want like more clarity, like yesterday I used it for 3 or 4 emails, just sensitive emails, and then I uploaded a PDF document that I wanted it to summarize for me. And
Beautiful.
then I asked it some questions, and I asked for the appendages and where I could find that in the document so I could review it on my own, things like that.
Exactly. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. So we've got from
I would say we use it a good bit in our business. Me personally, I'm probably like Ashley, probably about a 2 or 3, but we use it to run data through it. We use it to help format things, but then always have to, comb through it. But it gets used quite a bit in the office.
Awesome. All right. So we run the gamut here. Good to know. And
I have a quick question on that though. When it comes to like safety and putting information in there, I was told like, there's a lot of things you don't want to put in there because it utilizes it to, learn, and then it's out there on the web. And like, how secure is it? Like, I'm hesitant to put certain documents in there it would be helpful to be able to, but I'm just nervous about it.
It's almost like you saw one of the future slides of this presentation, Chris. We'll talk. Okay. I assume that's Chris. I can't see people speaking. I'm going to get to that. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right. So the key players are ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. Who's the best? Who should you use? It's a horse race. Every 2 weeks it changes. Right now, I would say ChatGPT or Gemini are the most advanced. If you're a Google person and you already have Gmail and Chrome and Sheets and Docs, Gemini is so awesome because it's just going to be natively put into all of that stuff. ChatGPT is also, you can't go wrong. Claude is actually the one I feel the fondest about, but is a little bit behind the other two in my view. Very quick summary on what large language models actually are. 2-sentence summary. They're sophisticated AI systems that are trained on massive amounts of text data, basically the entire internet. And they learn to understand context and generate human-like text by predicting the most probable next word in a sequence. So they're just very, very complex word prediction machines. And I say just, that's really underselling what they can do, but it's actually kind of amazing what they can do given that's what they are. But that's essentially, when I boil it down, that's what they are. Very complex word prediction machines. Why does this matter for you? Well, as you can see there, it's going to save you a bunch of time, which also increases productivity. If someone else can admit, oh, it came in right here. And it's going to boost productivity. It's going to help you spark a lot of ideas, marketing ideas, other business management ideas, client solution ideas. I'm a strong believer that AI is still near the beginning of what will be an exponential growth curve. If you think about the last time we had to deal with exponentials was COVID, and if we all think about how we felt about COVID in January of 2020 compared to April of 2020, that gives you an idea of how quickly things can change when exponential growth curves happen. And there's a good chance that we're still in January of 2020 when it comes to the growth curve of AI. So getting in on the trend earlier is going to allow you to remain and stay competitive and ahead of your competition, because if you're not using it, your competition probably isn't, and they're probably going to be out competing you. I would probably compare it to like the internet in 1995. People had heard of it. A number of people were using it. Societal adoption still kind of lagged behind technological progress. By 2005, you couldn't run an insurance agency without a computer, right? So we're still on the earlier side of that curve, and there's still a big overhang between societal adoption and the frontier model's capabilities. You can exploit that overhang to be more competitive than your competitors. LLMs as a business partner. As you guys know, being a business owner can be very lonely. LLMs are a business partner with the knowledge of the internet who make owning a business so much less lonely. As you're going to see, when I get a form from the IRS I don't understand, I talk to ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude about it. When I have some marketing strategy I want to discuss, when I have a sensitive client situation, or maybe I kind of mess something up, I talk to them about it. And it's just so nice to have basically a business partner who's infinitely patient with crazy but weird capabilities that only ask me for $20 a month. They don't even ask for half my business. So that's nice as well. And again, adoption differentiates leading agencies. The agents moving forward who adopt AI and their staff who adopt AI are going to outcompete the ones who don't because of the immense productivity boost and time savings. This 10-hour on-ramp, which is coined by Ethan Mollick, a Substack person that I follow. If there's one thing I want you to take away from today, and some of you have already put in your 10 hours, Chapman, it sounds like you have, and some of you have, you have to spend about 10 hours doing real work tasks to learn what they're good at and what they're not good at. And you have to just break your existing habits. You're not going to like it. It's training. You're training on what they're good at. Once you hit that 10 hours, you get to a positive ROI point, and for the rest of your life, you're going to ride the gravy train. As somebody who put in those 10 hours about a year and a half ago and now has reaped probably 100 times that benefit, I promise you it's worth it. I know it's annoying to be asked to do 10 hours of anything that's not already on your plate. Do an hour a day for 10 days, do 15 minutes a day for 40 days, do whatever you can, but put in those 10 hours. This is the only, if there's one thing you take away, it's put in the 10 hours. And then you'll learn everything else I'm about to teach you. You'll learn yourself if you put in 10 hours. And again, as you see it, they're surprisingly good at some things and they're surprisingly bad at others. And putting in that 10 hours will kind of help you understand what they're good at, what they're bad at. Start with tasks that you know well, because this is your area of expertise. You're going to be more likely to spot hallucinations, which we're going to talk about. Be painfully specific. You're going to see that as well. Everything I'm saying here, you're going to see in the show and tell portion. As it says there, state goals clearly, provide context. Treat it like a person who's a professional in that field. Do not treat it like Google. When I see other people using AI who are less, maybe they haven't put in their 10 hours, the main issue that I see is that they're treating it like Google. They're putting in 4 words when they should put in a paragraph. You guys know garbage in, garbage out, and that applies here. You put in 4 words, you're going to get a very generic response. You put in a whole paragraph, or maybe even upload 2 pages of notes from Applied Epic with your client, and then you ask a nuanced question, you're going to get a much more in-depth, nuanced answer. Prompting. So again, some of you know this, some of you don't, but prompting is basically how you talk to the model. You provide a prompt, it responds to the prompt. Prompting is the key to being good at using an LLM. When I say that you are building the skill of using a large language model, what I mean is you're learning the skill of prompting. I'd already mentioned it, be painfully specific, define the objective. Ask for multiple variants. You can ask for 10 slogans, or you can ask for 20 marketing ideas. It's just going to keep giving them to you. Maybe you ask for, you end up with 100 and one of them is good, and that made it worth the time of getting the whole 100. You know what I mean? So tell it to admit when it doesn't know something. Also important, we're about to talk about how they're sycophantic and they like to lie to you to make you happy. So it's nice to be able to say, if you don't know, just tell me. Accept good enough, polish later. So just get started. Your first prompt is not going to be your best prompt, but each one is going to be better than the one before it. Don't worry about making it perfect. All right, hallucinations and liability. So Chris, to your question. So we'll start with the hallucinations part. Models are not trained to be factual. They're trained to please you. They are trained to get positive reinforcement from humans. As a result, sometimes instead of admitting they don't know something, they'll fabricate a fact. Sometimes they'll just get it wrong. They're extremely complex, and how they work is so complex. They can't. There's not just a truth button that that OpenAI can turn on to make ChatGPT tell the truth. It's much more nuanced than that. So as a result, if there's something critical that you're about to send to a client or about to make it use as the basis for a large decision, you have to double check them. And I've got one hallucination example here. You guys can still see my screen. You can see this page of ChatGPT, correct? Hello?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. So I uploaded some quotes, and I said, draft an email summarizing the differences. Be careful to know how water damage is covered, along with all the other coverages, of course. And this right here, 2,500 AOP deductible with Cabrillo, that is wrong. It is a $5,000 AOP deductible. Imagine if I just copied and pasted this and sent it to the client and did not verify that, and the client bound this policy on the basis of that, and I had an E&O claim later. Now, the $2,500 difference in the deductible is not a huge E&O claim, but you could see how if it was the wrong liability amount or something like that, it would be. So I used this as a skeleton, but then I went and verified everything, which still saved me a lot of time compared to me having to format and do it myself. But that's a perfect example of how they can hallucinate, they can make things up. Their abilities will surprise you in both ways. You'll be amazed at what they can do that you did not think they could do, and you'll be amazed at what they can't do that you thought they should be able to do. All
Matt,
right, now
one thing on
about,
that, I would have been curious if you asked it a follow-up question and fact checked that. Like specifically, if you said, "Hey, can you take a closer look at those AOP deductibles?" And then sometimes I've found it'll come back and say, "Yeah, that's right. We did. It is 5,000." Sometimes it'll actually correct itself.
You can do that. Another thing that I do is I'll have Gemini fact check ChatGPT. ChatGPT right now, the O3 model is more prone to hallucinate. Gemini is more prone to be factual. So I had a client with a question about umbrella liability. ChatGPT gave me the response, and then I had Gemini fact check it. It lowers the chance, doesn't bring it to zero, but it lowers the chance of a hallucination. But yes, Brian, thank you. You can also tell it to fact check itself. All right, so let's talk now about, so that's an E&O liability, but now let's talk about sensitive uploads. So I want to be transparent about how I use AI in my agency. When I upload deck pages or client documents, I personally don't strip out every piece of personally identifiable information. I'm not stripping the name and the address. That's basically what's in there. It's a conscious choice that I've made because in my judgment, the risk is minimal. Chris, speaking to your question, the platforms use strong encryption. The data is only processed temporarily. And there's a box that you can check that says, don't train on my data. Hopefully I can find it here. For time, I won't find it. But there is a box that you could search that. You can ask ChatGPT that. There's a box that you can check that says, don't train on my data. So they won't train on it. But of course, I understand every agency has to make its own risk assessment. And if you're more conservative or you have strict internal policies, you might want to choose to scrub it. So you would just upload it to somewhere like Word or Paint or something where you can scrub it out. You can decide how you want to do that. For the risk reward, I choose not to. Of course, I'm not uploading social security numbers. I'm not uploading financial data, but a quote with their name and address, I'm choosing to make that judgment call. And for me, I'm doing it. So, of course, you got to stay mindful of data privacy laws and the professional responsibility that you have to protect client information. So I continue to keep an eye on that area. But that's, Chris, let me know if that did not answer your question.
No, it's definitely helpful. I'm just, names, dates of birth, policy numbers, and stuff like that. I was just concerned about if there's potential risk or issue.
Yeah,
Doing that.
some small amount. I consider it. I don't try. I haven't not trained on the data, and I consider it well worth the reward. But at the same time, I understand that's not everybody's decision.
Right. Right.
All right, now we get to the fun part. This is the show and tell part. So now for the rest of this, most of the next 2 slides, I'm going to actually show you guys real chats that I've had that I have used ChatGPT for. Starting with making this very PowerPoint. I didn't make this PowerPoint. ChatGPT did. I'm going to now bring this here, and I'm just going to show you. I've got all of them saved in this folder. PowerPoint creation request. So what I did do was I created this Google Doc. This is kind of my cheat sheet that I'm kind of referencing as I present to you guys right now. And I uploaded it here. And then I took this little tool here, Canvas. So if you, let me go one step back. I'm sorry, guys. Let me give you a brief tour of ChatGPT. So there's a bunch of different models. These large language model companies have a terrible issue with very confusing model names. If you want to know one thing, just use O3. That's all I'm going to say. There's a more nuanced discussion that we can have later, but just use O3. And then you see these tools here. You can search, which is like a Google search. Deep research, which is exactly what it says. It'll do a whole like a 20-page Google Doc on an issue for you. You can create an image, which we're going to see soon. And you can use Canvas. You can get it to write code. This is like the most fun and useful thing, Canvas. So going back here, PowerPoint creation. So I selected the Canvas tool. And I said, turn this into a snazzy looking, impressively done presentation. Use your own coding tools to code it up. Put it in a format that I can download as a PowerPoint. See that I'm being specific. Use your own coding tools. Don't just give me some slides to write, copy and paste, and put it in a format that I can download as a PowerPoint. Here it does the coding. It does it. Download the PowerPoint. Now when I click this one, it's actually not the PowerPoint you're looking at. It wasn't at all. It was just like black and white text. So I said, I asked for it to be snazzy and impressive, just white text. This is not impressive at all. Jazz it up with colors and effects, tastefully done, of course, make it look like I put some effort into its appearance. See how I'm talking to it? I'm talking to it like a person. This is not a Google search. And again, I'm being specific. It thought for 16 seconds, download the snazzy version, and that's this. And then I had to go in and it summarized my things, but I had to make maybe 30% of this I had to adjust. But the amount of work that it took to create the PowerPoint and create the skeleton that I just had to adjust was all done for me in like 16 seconds. So that one's pretty awesome. Multimodal capabilities. Oops, let me go back. Multimodal means it's not just a text model. You can talk to it. It can create images. It can create video. It can code up a website for you. It can make it can do a bunch of things. And so to that end, I'm going to show you a couple of things here. Number one, let me go back to ChatGPT. So this is one that I really just kind of wanted to razzle dazzle you guys. I'm not actually using this prompt for anything other than to show you guys as a demonstration. So I selected the Canvas tool once again, the coding tool. I said, come up with 20 clever ideas for marketing slogans for a new AI-forward insurance agency in Florida. Develop criteria and select the best one. Then build a financial and marketing plan for the agency, revising as needed and analyzing competition. Give me the financial and marketing plan as a Word doc. Then generate an appropriate logo using image generator and build a website for the agency as a mock-up, making sure to carry 5 to 10 characters to fit the marketing plan. 36 seconds later, here's the document. I'm gonna go through this document quickly for time, but it chose 20 slogans. It had some criteria for selecting a winning one. Here's a financial plan with revenue projections, expense and profit outlook. Of course, if I'm actually starting an agency, this is just a starting point. I'm not going to just blindly use these numbers. I'm going to have to research them. But of course, I'm also going to use ChatGPT to research them, and that's going to happen faster than otherwise would. Plus, it's providing me scaffolding that I remember when I did this in 2019. It took me way longer than 36 seconds just to get here. There's the marketing plan, competitive analysis snapshot. Here's the carriers it recommends. You guys know these carriers. Here's the website mockup via that it coded up. It wants me to copy HTML to a page builder. That's not what I wanted. We're going to come back to that in a sec. And then it's saying, here's the next steps that I have to do, that it has to do. So now, there we go. I said, no, prepare the website mockup in a way that I can preview in this chat. So it redoes it. And Hit preview. Ta-da! In 36 seconds, it did all of that, including building a website for me called Smart Shield Insurance, AI on duty, you at ease, get a quote, coverages, about us, contact, instant AI-powered quote. 2019, when I started my agency, this took me so much time. Now, once again, this is just a starting point. This is not the end point. I'm not just copying and pasting this. Obviously, you have to build from here. But the fact that it got me from 0 to here in 39 seconds is amazing. The coding ability is one of the coolest things, because if you can use a large language model, you have suddenly unlocked the skill of coding. I think I might have skipped that earlier, but learning the skill of using a large language model unlocks thousands of other skills, because you only have to know this one skill of using the large language model. All right, now back to multimodal capabilities. So let's do something else now, where I'm actually going to talk to it, and I'm going to I got my phone out. I'm going to put the receiver up to my headset, and I think I practiced, and you guys should be able to hear and talk. And we're gonna demo something real quick. So let me try this, and I want you guys to give me feedback to confirm that you can hear him. Hey, ChatGPT, are you there?
What's up?
Can you guys confirm if you heard him say, "Matt, I'm here. What's up"?
Yeah, I heard
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So I am ChatGPT. I'm doing a demo right now to actually show what you can do. And I'd like to do part of the demo where you're going to translate something to Spanish as if I'm talking to a client, and then you're our translator. Is that okay?
Of course, I'm ready whenever you are. Just let me know what you'd like me to translate.
All right, so coverage A is on the dwelling. It's 400,000. This is basically coverage to repair or rebuild your house if it's damaged or destroyed due to a covered peril. Please translate that.
Claro que sí. La cobertura A corresponde a la vivienda y es de $400,000. Básicamente, cubre los gastos para reparar o reconstruir tu casa si sufre daños o es destruida debido a un riesgo cubierto.
Yeah, and we'll end it there. But you can see how useful that is. If you have somebody in the office, you have a translator. And if you want to do that via phone, you can. You're going to have to use a third-party intermediary business that you'll pay, but it's like cents per minute or something like that. So that's just an example of the multimodal capabilities. It's not just a chatbot. It can code, it can create images, it can create, where is the Smart Shield logo? I guess the logo was in the website. In a few months, I'm going to be trimming my mango trees in my house, and I'm going to use the video, because it can do video too. And I'm going to have my headset in, I'm going to be talking to it, and I'm going to say, hey, should I trim this branch? What do you think about this branch? Because it's also an expert arborist. It's an expert everything. So the multimodal, do not sleep on the multimodal side of things. Let me pause. I'm going to keep going, but before I do, let me pause if you guys have questions on anything I've covered so far. All right. So next, I want to show you Notebook LM.
Matt, real quick,
go
sorry.
ahead.
You suggested the 10 hours of just getting in and messing around. Is there like, I'm sure ChatGPT could give me a curriculum on how to mess around and get to 10 hours and make better use of them. So when you say, hey, an hour a day, I'm sitting here going, like, an hour a day of me telling it to write a script for my made up podcast, you know what I mean? Like, so
what do you do?
Yeah, what do I do with those 10 hours? And you might get to that later, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead, but
yeah, I think at the end of the show and tell, you're going to see exactly some ideas for what you can do. But basically, whatever you're about to do next, you get off this call and you answer an email from a client. The client has coverage questions, and then you have to answer these questions about this tax on this flood policy, which we're going to see soon. You could research it if you don't already know it, or you can have ChatGPT research it. Or you're about to email quotes to a client, and instead of you putting, here's the differences between the quotes, you upload it, and you're going to see more. So I think by the end of the show and tell portion, you're going to have a better idea. Okay.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So Notebook LM is one of my favorite things. It's actually, there's a free version from Google. And so for this one, I've got carrier quick reference guides and underwriting manuals. And what I've done here is uploaded all my carrier quick reference guides. There's Edison, there's American Integrity, Florida Penn, yada, yada. And now this is a large language model that's not accessing the internet. It's just accessing these reference materials. And now I can talk, my staff too, we can talk to our reference guides. What carriers prohibit a pit bull? Based on the sources, here's what you need to know about pit bulls: American Integrity, Ovation, Centauri, Southern Oak, Sateshire, yada, yada. And if you want to, because we got to fact check it, right? You want to know where it got the data from? Click it, takes you right to it. There it is, ineligible dog breeds. So this is super cool. Remember, as with all LLMs, it will make mistakes. Some will be boneheaded. It'll also sometimes do things that will wow you. Oftentimes, I stop here. Sometimes I do still have to check the underwriting manuals, but it's so nice to have this as a, like, everywhere, everything in one. We also have here training guides. So like we have training guides for new employees. We also have like carrier tips and tricks that we think are worth knowing, applied epic training questions, our info and passwords, carrier information, mortgage company info, office holidays, all of that is here. So like a new hire can ask, like, how do I load a client into Epic? And it's searching the document. And here's all the steps. And then you can go right to the source document too, if you want to see that. So I'm sure you can all see how immediately and extremely useful this is. I mean, you can all go and do this today. Notebook LM, super helpful, super useful, saves you and your staff a bunch of time. As far as search goes, I don't Google things anymore. I use Perplexity mostly. Hold on, because now the little presenting thing is getting in my way. Perplexity is basically ChatGPT Googles it for you and gives you a summary. So like this morning, I wanted to know about the Google I/O conference that just happened, where they're releasing a bunch of new AI updates and stuff. It read all of these. It watched a YouTube video as well, and it's giving me an executive summary. So I don't have to go to these websites and go through ads and all that BS for it. I might ask quick questions that are either business or insurance related. ChatGPT also has that search feature, which basically does the same thing. I'm probably just in the habit of using Perplexity, but you could also just use that search feature and do the exact same thing. This next one I'll just tell you about because I'm in the interest of time. Tech fixes. It's such a great IT support person, or not person. I personify it a lot when I shouldn't. So let's say you have like whatever. Like I had an issue with my headset mic not connecting. Take a screenshot of your screen, upload it. I'm on a Windows laptop and I'm having this error message. I've tried this and this and this. What do you think the fix is? And it's going to give you a bunch of potential fixes. Go through it, collaborate with it. Okay, I tried that one. No, it's definitely not that one. This one I tried, but then I got this error message. What happened then? And then collaboratively you work together, and it is so good at resolving. Our tech bill has gone down because we're able to resolve so many more things that we don't have to bring our tech guy in, except for the higher level things. The kind of medium level stuff is now getting solved by ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini. All right, moving on. So Chris, next time you have a tech issue, this is a thing to think about it for. Let's keep going though. So going back to the next one is going to be coverage Q&A. And let me show you this one, coverage A endorsement clarification. So this is actual nuts and bolts insurance stuff right here. And so I'm asking, and I'm going to try to give a high level overview because of time. So basically, I'm wondering about the 25% additional increase replacement cost. There was a limit where I couldn't write above a certain number, but the client wanted a number that was a little higher. So I'm like, well, maybe I go to the limit that they want, and I add this 25% additional coverage A endorsement and essentially get her to where she wants. Is that not right? Am I missing anything? And it gives me a nuanced perspective. It talks to me about the co-insurance rule still applies, yada, 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 yada. Is it the same? I'm answering back. Notice how I'm typing paragraphs to it. This is a conversation, like I'm talking to a person. This is not a Google search. And so again, the quality of your input will determine the quality of the output. So once again, not trying to get too into the weeds here, but I'm talking back and forth, and it gives me a more nuanced perspective. And then I take that more nuanced perspective to the client. And then I ask for clarification from an email from underwriting. It gives me clarification. Again, I'm skimming this because we have a lot to get to. But that's an example of nuts and bolts insurance stuff that we can do. Another simple one is just rewriting an email. which I know, Chapman, you had mentioned this is one thing that you do, and I love that. So this client, I uploaded the quotes, and he asked about this fee and also this state tax. I could tell this guy's kind of a stickler for the details. Could I have researched all the research about the state tax and this fee? Sure, I could have, but why not? Let ChatGPT do it in 59 seconds, and it's got the information for me. I ask a clarifying question. It clarifies as well. Please give me a brief summary of surplus versus admitted lines. I know he's going to ask that. Here we go. I copy this. I double check things. I send the email in less than half the time it would have taken me to draft the email and research it myself. Moving on. And guys, if you have questions, just continue to pop them up as I go. Polishing up some rough notes. This one I'll just tell you about in the interest of time. So like I often just make kind of crazy, disorganized notes to myself as the client talks or as I'm doing a quote with all kinds of shorthand and abbreviated stuff. And I want ChatGPT to polish it up into something that is ready to send to a client. That's what I say. I copy and paste this. Hey, please put these notes in a format that's ready to send to an email to my client. That's a small time savings, but those add up over time. Or just summaries. Like I had a conversation with one of my employees and we arrived at some decision and I just copied and pasted like 2 pages worth of Teams conversations. I said, hey, please summarize this and put it in a format that's ready to email to my employees. And it did. Could I have summarized it? Of course, but it was so much quicker and easier for it to. Then I can move on to the next thing. All right, moving on. Data extraction. This is the next one I'll show you guys. Coverage comparison summary. Where's that one? So I uploaded 4 quotes for 2 different properties for this client, flood quotes, and I said, give me a brief outline of the coverage differences to send to a client, formatted in a simple, easy to read chart. Again, I'm being specific. Include only the property address, coverages, highlighting differences in premium. Once again, being specific. And so it gives me this chart for the first property, then the second property, and now I can just copy and paste that, reference it to quotes, make sure it's correct. But again, it did 75% of the lifting for me. I sent this email so much quicker, I moved on to the next quote, the next client. Moving on. Transcription. Sometimes you just want to transcribe, whether maybe it's a VIN, like a client sends you a PDF copy of their deck page, but it was a physical piece of paper they scanned in, so you can't just copy and paste easily. You can say to ChatGPT, transcribe the VINs and coverages from this. Boom, copy it into your notes. Brainstorming client solutions. So this is one of my favorite applications when I have maybe a more complex situation. This is one where I actually had a knowledge gap that I didn't even know I had, and it kind of saved my butt. So NFIP flood policies, you know how they like some are like grandfathered into the better credits before the new 2.0 system. And I knew you could input the credits from the old policy to the new one, but I did not know you could just assign the policy. Maybe that's egg on my face for not knowing that. Had I not had ChatGPT, I would have probably lost this one because I would have given the client incorrect information. Hopefully, I would have actually, you know, figured it out myself, and maybe I would have. Either way, it got done correctly and quicker this way. So I give it more information and help me sort through this. So the first question, here's what I think. The second question, yada, yada. And it gives me, once again, I'm trying to be brief here, so I'm going to kind of gloss over here. It's giving me a draft I can copy and paste. Here's the bottom line. Once again, I was like, I wasn't even aware of the formal assumption. I'm so glad I consulted with you. This is what we ended up doing. I actually did this the other day. And so I figured out how to do it, yada, yada. Draft up an email for me. If you already have a conversation with ChatGPT and you need to write an email, just say, draft an email for me. It already has context. You don't need to spend time typing this paragraph. And then I edit it, you know, make it sound a little bit more like I wrote it. And then there's more. So I went back and forth. I'll kind of skip the additional details, but you can see once again how I am using it to help me achieve creative solutions for a client. Applicant evaluation. So we all do hiring. It can help you with hiring. So here's one. Scroll to the top. So I like to make a lot of notes. So I actually already had a lot of context for it. It's a long prompt, as you can see. When I'm talking to applicants for a position, I'm kind of typing as they're speaking so that I can kind of go back and sort through it later. So it kind of helped that I already had that. And then I also copied and pasted some conversation between me and the recruiter who I've been working with to give it more context. Giving it context is key. garbage in, garbage out, good input in, good input out. So I'm like, I was and still am 90% of the way to moving on from her, but her test scores were pretty good. She did the typing test and the Wonderlic, and she got this. Should I reconsider? And ChatGPT gave me an idea that I wouldn't have otherwise had. It said, you know what? Why don't you move the reference check up instead of doing it at the end like you normally do? And if she passes that, then move her through. So there it is. Run the reference check immediately. This whole thing was just worth the time spent for this one little idea. And you'll find that a lot. You'll spend a lot of time and you only get one idea, but that one idea made it worth all the time. And that's exactly what I did. And it is exactly what I thought. She was not able to provide me with a reference check because I suspect that things happened. Things went in a way that was different than what she told me, and I moved on. Had I not done that, either maybe I would have moved on prematurely and maybe potentially missed out on a good hire, or maybe I would have wasted a bunch of time. So again, super, super nice. And then I was like having it help me draft like there's a lot more here. In the interest of time, I'm kind of skimming through a lot of stuff, but help me draft an email to send to the applicant to reject them. Data analysis. This is another good one. Now we're switching to Gemini. So those were all my ChatGPT ones. I switched just because as a hobbyist, I like to try them all, and so I'll switch from one to the other. So there's not a specific rhyme or reason. It's just the time that I was doing these specific ones. So let me go here to missing policies 2024. So I run renewal retention reports to base my service team's bonus structure on. And unfortunately, it seems like there's just no great way to do it. The best way that I found is I run a report of my book for a given month prior year, so March book 2024. Then I run the same report minus new business for the current year, March book 25. So any policies that were in 24 that were not in 25, I know we likely lost. Now, imagine what a pain in the butt it would be for me to manually reference each one. I just wouldn't do it. I just would not do it, and I would just accept the fact that I'm not doing it. But ChatGPT or Gemini can do it. So I have a little prompt here that says, here's exactly how I want you to do it. Here's what I want you to do. It thinks, and then here's the list. Here's all the policies that are in one, but not the other. And then because the way I run the reports is not perfect, I still have to kind of scrub through it, but it saves me so much time compared to that if I were to actually manually do that, right? And then that's pretty much it on that one. Data analysis is super helpful. I don't think I have an example here, but I also have like data on my salespeople's bind ratios and all of that I upload, and I say, all right, let's try to improve Caitlin's performance here. What trends are you seeing? Oh, here's what I'm seeing. Oh, let's pull at that thread. All right, so based on this, let's go ahead and have some talking points in our next meeting. Data analysis, awesome. Evaluating a complicated case for a client. So this one I'll just, in the interest of time, I'll just tell you guys about. Life insurance, complicated life insurance case. I uploaded a bunch of quotes and have it help me sort through it. And it was like, all right, so this one's guaranteed issue. This one's not. This one has the exclusion period for 2 years. They get 110% of their premium back. This one doesn't. This one's subject to underwriting. All right, their budget is this. All right, so based on this, these are some options for them. We can slice and dice it this way. Talk to the client, take the client's feedback back to Gemini and say, all right, so based on this, this, and this, help me think through it, basically. Half of the value is just a sounding board. The value of writing it down is honestly like half of it. The other half comes from its way of organizing, sorting through, and analyzing the data. Tax and legal advice. So like IRS sends me something scary looking that I underpaid something and I have to correct it. I have an accountant and I will ask him, but he might not reply to me for a day or two. I can just ask Gemini right now. In fact, for my own personal retirement strategy, I consulted with Gemini before I consulted with my accountant in advance of our meeting. And it was actually Claude. And the retirement strategy we did, a backdoor Roth conversion, is what I ended up going with. And it was Claude's suggestion. My accountant was like, huh, you're right, you can do that. He was not going to have suggested it to me. Claude is the reason why I have a current personal retirement strategy. So all kinds of things like that, taxes, retirement, business, all kinds of stuff like that. Now let's talk about brainstorming strategic business decisions. We're almost done here. This is the second to last one I'm going to show you guys. I get so excited. I just like want to show you them all, but I also don't want your eyes to glaze over. So we basically recently decided to stop writing citizens. As you guys know, they're making it so difficult that we have reached a point where we think it's actually a negative ROI, combined with the fact that their flood rule is going to become more and more strict each year. And basically, I just had a whole conversation. So I have a lot of notes that I take. Kind of helps me that I have these notes because I can just copy and paste it in as context. I know not everyone's like that. And then I ask for its general thoughts, or actually I have a conversation with my team here that I copied and pasted. Give it context. Look at this huge prompt. The more information you give it, the more information you're going to get out of it. Do not use it like Google. And then it tells me some ideas, and here's some steps. And then through collaborative process, we go back and forth. And once again, almost always I'm extracting at least one and sometimes several useful ideas that cause me to proceed in a direction that is better than I would have otherwise proceeded. And then the last one here, employee review analysis. So I do quarterly and annual reviews of my employees, and then that is how their raises are determined. So here's my quarterly reviews that I already did, and then I upload it and I say, don't write the review for me, but give me some bullet points to structure my review based on the quarterly reviews and the meeting exceeding below expectations. And it does it. So it gives me this. I copy and paste this, and I put that into my employee's annual review. And then I also type my own thing. And I say, this was summarized by Gemini. Now, here's my own spin on it. So they know it's not just Gemini writing the review. And then we actually talk about a payment, her pay, and what should I raise her, and she's a salesperson, and I have to keep her pay in line and to remain financially viable. What do we think about this? A lot of back and forth. I upload the pay agreement. I ask you, hey, how should I structure it? We're going to do 3%. I want to do this. Back and forth. And again, I know I'm glossing over stuff in the interest of time, of course, but anyway, a lot of back and forth, and it helps me arrive at a decision that is either better than the one I would have arrived at, or maybe the same, but I got there faster. Last one I'll say, and I'm not going to show this one, is just like marketing ideas. Like I had an idea to partner with dealerships for them to provide referrals to us in exchange for some kind of referral kickback. And I talked with Claude about that one. We went back and forth, and I started a marketing plan. Then my son was born, and I had to abandon it. So unfortunately, we're not doing that one right now. But it's great for strategic marketing, high-level discussions as well. So that concludes that portion. There's a couple slides left, but before I proceed, questions on any of that? All right. So
just a quick question, I guess, Matt.
Sure.
I mean, it's interesting that it doesn't really seem that, I'm not saying it's taking away from your intellectual ability, but it seems like almost in every major decision you're going here first, and or minor decisions, just from a speed and efficiency and what did I think about this or didn't I think about that? Just like almost anything and everything that touches your plate, you're touching here almost as a starting point before you even let your mind think.
Yes. Are we exporting our thinking to large language models? Very, very, very difficult to wrestle with question. My wife does say sometimes she gets annoyed to the extent to which I consult them. And I definitely, even like especially more recently, have started to really kind of grapple with that. Like to the extent that it's freeing me up to focus on higher level tasks, it's good, right? Because if I'm not, maybe I'm saving the compute of my mental compute on these items, but it's because I did 30% more things in that day. So my overall brain usage did not go down. I just did 30% more. Well, am I lying to myself? Am I really just exporting my thinking and I'm using the extra time to just look at my phone? I don't think I am. I hope I'm not lying to myself. But you've hit on something important, Chapman, and that is definitely something that I try to remain aware of. And especially and our kids are growing up in the AI generation. I think about that a lot for my kids too. Like, how can I make sure that AI is a tool that they co-learn and reason with, and it doesn't replace their ability to learn and reason? So definitely something that's on my mind. I'd like to think, and I hope I'm not fooling myself, that I'm in the first camp of I did 30% more and I used the total amount of brain power to just accomplish more. Am I incorrect about that? I guess time will tell, but I remain conscious of it.
I don't think so. I think it's the evolution of it. because I've wrestled with it a little bit, and I'm kind of glad to hear you say that. Where, if you think about like the first spark of the evolution, maybe second or third channel of it was, did you Google it? Or, hey, Google has all the answers, right? And that isn't very much different from a mindset of leveraging something that's there. I think this is just a newer phase of it,
Correct. You could, and for sure, before this, it was Google, and before that, it was television, and before that, it was, at one point, I think, was it Aristotle or Socrates thought that books were going to rot people's brains because now they could just write things down and they wouldn't have to actually learn them. So there is a part of me that is also like, let's remember that every generation had something that they were alarmist about how the new generation's brains are rotting, and mostly things turned out okay. Not that I want to hand wave away the whole issue, but yeah, this is definitely something that's talked about in the AI community and something that I remain aware of myself. All right, so you want to get started? What do you do? Number one, of course, secure access to one of these models, $20 a month. They have higher tiers, but you don't need them. ChatGPT or Gemini is the way I would go right now, and just start using it daily. So Chris, back to your original question, are you able to kind of sink your teeth into a little bit more how you would actually start spending those first few prompts, first few hours?
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that you've done, I didn't even think about doing. So, I mean, there's opportunity there just to start off there. But I mean, I don't know. It's really neat.
Awesome. Yeah, and just, accept that it's going to look weird, and it's going to feel weird, and it's going to feel wonky at first, and your first prompts are going to be terrible, and it'll slowly get better. Save common prompts. I actually have LLM prompt Google Doc here. Here's how I turn bank statements into commission spreadsheets. This one's kind of a monster, so I just copy and paste it each time. Parenting advice, Spanish practice, therapist, renewal retention reports, jailbreak. This is how you make it do naughty things. So I have all these prompts that I like to save. And then show this next part, and this is basically the last part, super important here. Don't go and show your staff right now. I mean, assuming Chapman's already pretty familiar and probably staff are using it, but if you're not, don't just run to your staff and say, I just learned all these great things and I want everybody to start using it. You have to put in your 10 hours first, get to your positive ROI point, and then slowly educate, because remember, they need to know about hallucinations and liability as well. Educate your staff and then trickle it in. One of my employees, Jen, said that she liked the way that I've been doing it, which is show them a few easy ways to use it. Rewriting an email, talking through an underwriting, complex underwriting issue, super easy. And then, like, let's say an IT issue comes up later, ask them, have you checked with ChatGPT? Don't bring it to me before you check with ChatGPT. And then also show them how you use it. A few times a week, I go into our Teams chat and I send a screenshot and I say, look at how ChatGPT or Gemini helped me with this complex issue. You keep putting it in front of their faces, adoption will be slow. My team lags far behind what you just saw from me today, but they'll get on board. And once you got your team slowly but surely on board and they get to that positive ROI, you don't have to show them anymore. They're just going to take off with it. And then the efficiency gain is multiplied by the number of employees you have. Once again, bringing this all the way back to the beginning, this is how you're going to outcompete the local agents down the street who aren't using it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now we can kind of open it up for any additional questions, comments, or thoughts.
I just dropped something in the chat. I'd love to get the recording of this call if I could. I'd like to share it with some of my leadership, especially the people who are already using ChatGPT. But you just highlighted a few things that jumped out to me, especially about like the training and uploading stuff into here and how many producer questions I see my better salesmen answering throughout the day that people like. We joke around because we don't have an IT person. I'm like, I'm going to write up on our big whiteboard. Number one, call the underwriter. Number two, ask Google. Number three, don't ask me. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they immediately it's like children jump up from their desk and like, hey, I can't find this thing. And it's right in front of their face. And so just what you said about doing that pre-work of you've already uploaded your training of Applied Epic into ChatGPT. So now if someone has any question, ChatGPT is using, or whichever one you're using, sorry.
Notebook LM for that one.
Yeah. but it's already there for them to reference. So yeah, anyway, I'd
I
love
will.
to share this recording.
Yes, absolutely. I will. I'm going to send it to Alicia. I'll send it to you guys as well. Any other questions, comments, or thoughts?
I've used ChatGPT, like I had mentioned many times. I never even looked at those other tabs that are underneath asking it questions. So that was interesting.
Wait, which tabs?
The little bubbles on the bottom where you could search it or
Yep.
yeah, I was like,
Deep research,
oh yeah.
Canvas.
I've always been like, no, I'm not going. If I want to go to the web, I'll just go to the web ChatGPT. I don't need you to Google search it for me.
I see.
But I just
Yeah.
never even noticed them there.
The Canvas one is cool. Unlocking the ability of coding is awesome. I haven't used it too much myself, mostly for lack of time, although I'm going to start taking over the administration of my website once I figure out a few things. But it's just, once again, you unlock this one skill, you unlock 1,000 skills. It's just so cool. All right. Well, if that's all, then that's pretty much it. We're right at the hour. So I guess that'll conclude the meeting.
No, I really appreciate it. I think that, you know, the rest of the groups probably need to see and hear a little bit about this, especially with what, you know, Patrick is trying to push us all towards a little bit more tech forward, and he's doing a lot of research on his own and his relationships kind of in this space. I just think, yeah, you should definitely share this, and I'll echo it when I talk to Erin. I think I'll call her later. Just how helpful this was, and I think the rest of the groups need to hear it.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Alicia asked me to record for that reason. I'm going to send it to her. I'm sure she'll send it to everybody. And so, yeah, once again, all right, guys. Well, that'll conclude this meeting. I'll reach out to everybody to schedule the next one.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Matt.
Matt.
Thank you.
Absolutely,
Appreciate it.
guys.